Boy, you already know. Shit. So we got this little video right here called "Do Things Jehovah's Way." That's terrible advice. That's terrible advice off top. But let's see what they talking about. Somebody tells you that, don't listen.
Proverbs 3, 5, and 6 made a tremendous impression on me. Trust in Jehovah with all your heart. When I was younger, I probably said, all right, let me try it and see if it works. As much as I loved what I was learning from Jehovah, I was still leaning a lot of
Nah, let me just play this.
on my own understanding. Obviously, when we make decisions in our lives,
Hold on, damn, he was so ugly, I didn't even hear what he said. Fuck, hold on, let me see what he was talking about.
I probably said, all right, let me try it and see if it works. As much as I loved what I was learning from Jehovah, I was still leaning a lot on my own understanding.
Okay, see, he was still leaning a lot on his own understanding. So, if you've been keeping up with the videos and shit, you know that Jehovah's Witnesses don't want you to be independent at all. They want you to have to depend on Jehovah for everything. So if you start thinking for yourself or making your own decisions and shit, that's not good. Like old boy was talking about leaning on his own understanding, like that's not good. You gotta do things Jehovah's way. Shee, we only 20 seconds in this bitch, goddamn.
Obviously, when we make decisions in our lives, a spiritual person, they review and think, let's do this Jehovah's way. And that was something that I had lost sight of at that moment in my life.
Oh shit.
There was considerable opposition to the work. We expected, when we did street work, we might be picked up and taken to jail.
Hell no. Does that even make sense, bro? What? Damn. They be going to
But
jail for
Jehovah's
this.
organization had explained to us how we were to handle it. I do remember when the police finally...
What do you say? Jehovah's organization explained to them how to handle it. If that's not being controlled, man, come on, dog. It's just more and more evidence with every video.
Yeah, and they drove me down to Chicago. It was about an hour's drive. And they asked me, so what did you do wrong? So I had 1 hour to witness to them. And as I recall, I kept track of it and I counted the time too. Things didn't disturb us because we were being trained by Jehovah's organization. We knew what to do.
Okay, look, right there. They're
So
being
I
trained.
ended up in a jail in Chicago for a weekend, and there was nothing I could do about it. So I put up with it. So I was home for a day or two, and then I went back to my assignment, and I kept on working. Left the rest in Jehovah's hands, and they handled it very nicely, whether we were in jail or whether we were not.
He handled it very nicely whether we were in jail or not. So if you're in jail, how is that handling it nicely? Like, I don't even think they know what they be saying. They just be saying this shit because it's so ingrained in your brain. But like, like just off of that statement alone, just as a reasonable adult, right? If you would say he handled it nicely whether we were in jail or not, how is being in jail handling it nicely? I mean, he didn't have to go, but you know his spirits was up, so he was cool with it.
Eventually, I stumbled upon the punk rock anarchist scene, and this really called out to me because here I can be myself, I can establish my own standards, but that scene eventually led me down to a very dark path of immorality, drug abuse, drunkenness, and a lot of violence.
Damn. Okay. Shit. You see how they just automatically, this nigga talking about punk rock, and that just leads to immorality and drunkenness and drug abuse, and now they got this nigga walking down the street in a black hoodie. Man, anything that doesn't come from Jehovah's organization is gonna lead you down this path. And they just be ingraining that shit in your brains.
I felt lonely, I felt betrayed, I felt nothing made sense. I remember...
Okay, that boy was fly. Look at him. Hold on. You seen when I paused it earlier. Look, my boy got the snapback on with the mullet coming down the side, you feel me? And now look at him. You tell me. And he might have been high as hell in this picture, but still. Man, look, he had some swag. You could tell he had swag. Look at him now. What the fuck?
I was learning about Jehovah and how simple things were, I decided to give Jehovah another shot.
Man, hell no,
Reading Matthew 16:24 hit me really hard, where it says that to disown yourself.
What the fuck
because
is
I knew that scripture, but I...
Disown yourself? If I told you to disown if somebody was like, hey, yo, bro, you need to disown yourself, like, what the fuck? What are you saying to me? What does that mean, disown myself, nigga? I'm me. I would never disown myself. Myself? What do I got if I don't got myself?
I haven't really focused on what it meant for me. I knew I had to let go of certain parts of my personality, of my old lifestyle. Never really given Jehovah a complete, fair chance. And so I started applying more fully the principles I found, started trusting Jehovah more. Very quickly, things started falling into place.
Yeah,
the determination that I had to serve him, the changes that I needed to make, changes that I never thought I could.
Man, gave up that mullet.
I felt that spiritual progress was appointments and assignments. I think pride got the best of me there.
God damn. Elon Musk looking
Very
at.
shortly after we got to the congregation in
damn.
Brooklyn, I'm out in service with the coordinator, and he says to me, the letter came back and you weren't recommended as a servant. Do you know what happened? So I
Oh,
said, well,
shit,
you know,
don't
I
ever
think
make
those
that
brothers have some problems over there. And he said, whoa. Stop for a second here. You don't need to tell me anything negative about the brothers in that hall. Focus on what you need to do, and Jehovah will take care of the rest of it. It really did feel like Jehovah was just saying, okay, stop. Right now, you need to focus on...
Okay, so he applied to be a servant, right? Which means like you take the lead in the congregation, and the letter came back, said he didn't get recommended or whatever. Okay, so he spins that and says Jehovah's telling him that he needs to focus. My nigga, you just ain't make it. You feel me? It's all good. You know what I mean? Just do you, by what?
And that really just allowed me to relax and focus on what was really a lot more important than whether I had a certain position in Jehovah's organization. The humility and the patience and the love and the adjustments that I needed to make.
And that's what I mean by when they instill these qualities in you, it makes you be like this. Look, be a more obedient servant of Jehovah. He just lists the humility and, you know what I mean? Like, come on, dog. It makes you a bitch in the sense that you are easily controlled and whatever they say is going to go. This nigga is an obedient servant of Jehovah.
Obedient servant of Jehovah. Those were the things that were so important that I had forgotten about for a while. All the time that I spent pursuing my own interests, it always led to disappointment.
Come on, dog. I hate that fucking sentence so much. He said all the times that I spent pursuing my own interests, it always led to disappointment. Come on, dog. My nigga, see, this is what happens. And this is why this is every story that the witnesses are going to hear. Because it's always going to be somebody that left and did everything that they thought was cool, I guess. Right? So they go out, they start drinking, they start taking drugs, they start doing whatever. Like, what the fuck you think is going to happen? Those aren't your interests. You're just out there doing whatever because you were bottled up, growing up for so long that it's a brand new world. You don't know what's out there. But it's like if you would really lock into yourself when you leave, you're going to start working on yourself. You're going to figure out, okay, what do I really believe in? What kind of qualities do I want? What kind of person I want to be? And you're going to go and do your own thing. But you're never going to hear that story because the Jehovah's Witnesses aren't going to tell that. They're always going to tell this story. So it's like, why would pursuing your own interests lead to disappointments? Like, you're doing what your heart and soul, what you're made to do. Like, he wasn't pursuing his own interests. He was just doing some wild shit because he thought it was cool. Don't get it twisted.
And now that I've learned about Jehovah and living by his principles, I've been having the time of my life.
Man, your
I
hairline
know
don't
that
look
Jehovah
like
just simply wants to make me the best version of me and teach me to enhance my personality and to become better. That really endeared me to Jehovah.
Does that sound like some control shit or like some shit that was rehearsed? Or does it sound like he's just speaking? You know what I mean? Because obviously they practice this and they go over it and they have a set question. They know what they're going to say. But every answer is the same. It's always going to be the same shit. And that just shows how they fall in line. It's just crazy to look at.
But really cared about me enough to mold my thinking.
God damn.
It was kind of like my life was back into focus. And I was able to just relax and serve Jehovah happily. And then, of course, the blessings started really pouring in after that. Everything I've done connected with the truth.
Oh,
I have
shit.
enjoyed
What
every
the fuck? Every picture. God damn.
You might have some great idea, but I found out you do things Jehovah's way. And the end result is nothing but good.
Man, that shit was weird. That was a weird ass video.